Now, the song we're going to sing next is a street chant that originated in Minneapolis a week ago. And the protesters would fill a neighborhood street, fill to overflowing. And they would sing this chant to the houses on one side of the street. And then someone in the back of a pickup, standing in the back of a pickup, would say, okay, now let's turn and sing to the houses on this side of the street. And people would come to their windows who were afraid to go to the grocery store or send their children to school, and they were weeping and prayerful and thankful. And so in that spirit, we will sing, Hold On. Hold on, my dear ones, here comes the dawn. I offer these words by my colleague Michelle Collins. Source of love, spirit of interdependence, we give thanks for the web that holds us, the hands that have steadied us, the voices that remind us we are not alone, the presence of those who have leaned on us, just as we have leaned on them. Resilience is not a solitary triumph. It is woven through community, shared meals, gentle questions, laughter that breaks through grief, courage borrowed from one another when our own runs thin. In this moment, let us remember that we are stronger together than apart. May we continue to offer and receive care, trusting that our connections sustain us, even when we cannot behold the whole picture. Blessed be the bonds that hold and keep on holding on.
The reading this morning is from Valerie Carr. Valerie Carr is an American Sikh activist and founder of Revolutionary Love Project. She spoke these words at a press conference recently. Revolutionary love is the choice to leave no one outside our circle of care, to risk ourselves for one another, to show up with whistles when they have guns. And that love is the force that this administration cannot defeat. Nicole Presley, the UUA's Director of Organizing Strategy, writes, "The chaos and the cruelty we are witnessing in Minnesota are meant to distract us and push us inward, convincing us that our individual actions are too small to matter against a force that seeks to dominate land, bodies, and the very idea of liberty and justice for all. While our individual actions may feel painfully small, when they are woven together across congregations, movements, and communities, they become something else entirely, a shared moral force capable of interrupting cruelty and insisting on love and liberation. We must share in all of it, the heartache, the frustration, the hope, and the collective action that binds our souls to one another and moves us to manifest the things that we long for."
The next piece of music we'll sing is to the tune of America the Beautiful. You'll find new lyrics in your order of service. It's called America the Sorrowful by Eden Sings Official, which is a Facebook page. Breathe, said the wind. How can I breathe at a time like this when the air is full of smoke from burning tires and burning lives? Just breathe, the wind insisted. Easy for you to say, if the weight of injustice is not wrapped around your throat, cutting off all air. I need you to breathe. I need you to breathe. Don't tell me to be calm when there are so many reasons to be angry, so much cause for despair. I didn't say, be calm, said the wind. I said to breathe. We're going to need a lot of air to make this hurricane together. "2026 marks the 100th anniversary of Black History Month, a counterpoint to the narrative that justifies systemic racism. Yet here we are at a juncture in our nation's history that echoes of the civil rights era. When people of faith, labor unions, and community organizations across the country rise up in protest and in song to end the state-sanctioned violence and inhumane treatment of people of color. Now, I know there are a lot more people of color who are dying in detention centers than there are in our streets right now. I just want to call your attention to why the killing of Renee Nicole Good and Alex Pretty is so important. People have testified they were good people, and video footage has shown that they did not provoke the violence that ended their lives. The shocking death of these two young white people by ICE agents is intended to discourage white allies, whether they knew it or not, that that's what they were doing, from rallying around the immigrant community. Divide and conquer. It's an old strategy. Who else will fight for immigrant rights if they cannot fight for themselves? Well, I'll tell you who. The Multi-Faith Anti-Racism Change and Healing Organization of Minnesota sent out a call for clergy just 7 days after the death of Renee Good. And within 7 more days, they organized a massive 2-day rally from January 22nd to the 23rd that included activist training, direct action protests, and a spiritual revival inspired by ancient texts like love thy neighbor and welcome the stranger, and old songs from the civil rights era like we shall overcome and we shall not be moved, and new songs like hold on. Over 600 clergy answered the call to Minneapolis, and that included 200 UU religious leaders, including our denomination's president. Oh, it's gone. I hope you saw her while she was up there. Yes. Our denomination's president, Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt, an Afro-Latina American and member of the LGBTQ community. 100 clergy engaged in direct action at the Minneapolis St. Paul International Airport to protest the deportation flights provided by Delta and Signature Airlines. Clergy lined up on their knees in prayer to block a road to the airport. When the gathered crowd exceeded their permit limitations, local police respectfully arrested 100 clergy and boarded them on a bus without violence. On January 23rd, the day of truth and freedom, over 50,000 peaceful protesters took to the streets of Minneapolis. Over 300 ICE-out demonstrations took place across all 50 states. And then the very next day, on January 24th, the death of Alex Pretty spurred clergy to gather in Washington, D.C. on January 29th to protest legislation that would fund further ICE operations. They sat on the floor of the Hart Senate office building to pray and held signs that said, "Do justice, love kindness, abolish ICE." And I'm proud to say 60 clergy members were arrested, including our own UUA president, the Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt. Dr. King once said, "The church must be reminded that it is not the master or the servant of the state, but rather the conscience of the state. It must be the guide and critic of the state and never its tool. If the church does not recapture its prophetic zeal, it will become an irrelevant social club without moral or spiritual authority." Thank you, Dr. King, for showing us how it's done. On January 30th, March, the organization in Minneapolis promoted a nationwide shutdown. No shopping, no school, no work. I have not read any reports on the effectiveness of this 24-hour economic pressure. Only time will tell, and I suspect there may be more similar events. What we can say happened due to these protests is the U.S. Border Patrol Commander at Large, Gregory Bovino, who defended the use of lethal force against peaceful protesters, was removed from his position. And his successor, who has yet to prove himself, Tom Homan, is at least using softer, more humane rhetoric. Valerie Carr, the Sikh activist and founder of the Revolutionary Love Project, notes, "Minnesotans have established what she calls an underground civil society, forged by the killings of Philandro Castile and George Floyd during the Black Lives Matter movement." Executive Director of Black Lives Unitarian Universalism, Lena Gardner, says, "The beauty of community building and mutual aid that's happening in Minnesota ought to inspire us to act in the same way." And Gardner encourages us to start forging new relationships with our neighbors and immigrant-led organizations now, so when ICE or some other government entity comes to our cities and towns, we will be ready. People with connections are safer, more resilient, and harder to repress. Rachel Miss-Livy, who is a UUA climate justice organizer, reminds us, and we heard this earlier, when hope is hobbled by fear and tethered to despair, we must dream beyond our current limitations and reimagine a world of connection and possibility. Love provides us the tools to be with the fear and uncertainty of this moment. Guided by hope, aligned with our most deeply held values, we can reimagine a world where all people can thrive. So as we witness, mourn, and live through a constitutional crisis in our nation, characterized by federal overreach, militarized enforcement, and the erosion of our social liberties, I invite people of all ages to help keep the fabric of society woven together by writing love notes to our UU siblings in Minnesota immediately following the service during coffee hour. Grab your snack and your beverage and start writing notes. And our children will be there to decorate them with stickers and color crayons. Other strategies include writing postcards to our representatives, encouraging them to oppose further funding for ICE, and demanding reforms that ensure public safety and accountability in the deportation of criminals who are not lawfully in this country. I leave us now with these words by South Carolina Democratic Senator Michael Garrett. In the face of terror, these peaceful protesters are choosing love. In the face of cruelty, excuse me. In the face of cruelty, they are choosing each other. They are proving that when the government fails to protect its people, the people will protect each other. America is a beautiful, complicated, broken, and brave story. We have never been perfect, but what has always bound one generation to the next is a sacred promise that we will leave this country more free, more fair, and more just than the one we inherited. At Valley Forge, freezing and starving soldiers kept that promise when it would have been easier to surrender. On the Edmund Pettus Bridge, marchers who knew they would be beaten and bloodied kept that promise anyway, because they believed the arc of history bends toward justice, but only if we bend it. Alex Preddy kept that promise. Renee Good kept that promise. It's our watch now. How will we rise to meet this moment in our nation's history? And whatever we decide, I will stand proudly beside you. May it be so.